Okay. So lecture 2 is on the foundation of ethical behavior. Foundation of ethical behavior. There are some core concepts that makes up our ethical behavior. All right. So largely the learning objectives we'll be learning about beliefs, we'll be learning about attitudes, we'll be looking at values, and then finally virtues. Okay, so these are the core things, concepts that makes up our form the foundation of our ethical behavior. Beliefs, attitude, values, virtues. And that is what this particular lecture is about. Okay. So belief, attitude, and values are all interconnected. They are related, these three concepts. Your belief, your attitude, and values, they are interconnected. Your values are determined by what you believe in. And your values and belief determine your attitude. Okay, so what you believe in will determine your values, and then your values and your belief will then determine the attitude that you have towards issues. So what are beliefs then? Beliefs are based on knowledge or facts. Beliefs are ideas or principles that people hold to be true and hence dear to them. Do you get it? So they are ideas, they are principles that people believe or think are true, and because they feel they are true, those ideas and beliefs are very dear to them. They are very important to them. Okay. Some beliefs are backed by facts, while others are not. So we have some beliefs that you can have some facts to justify or to, yes, them, but there are other beliefs also that you cannot have any facts to justify. Okay, so beliefs that are supported by evidence are called justified beliefs. So if there is a belief and you can provide evidence, then to support that belief is called justified belief. All right. So what it means is that there are some beliefs that you cannot justify, but those that can be justified are known as justified beliefs. Under that, we have what is known as direct judgments. So the evidence that you can use to justify your beliefs could be coming from direct judgments. So, and direct judgments are based on our sense perception. What we have felt, what we have heard, could be an evidence for the type of belief that we hold to be true. Okay, so in that case, it's coming from us directly, something that we have experienced, and that is causing us to believe in something, in some principle or some idea. All right. Then we have intuitive or derived judgments. They are formed out of the existing body of knowledge. So with direct judgment, your belief is coming from your own experiences or things that you have felt and heard. But with intuitive or derived judgment, this belief is coming from some existing knowledge that you've read about or somebody have taught you about it, just like religious beliefs. Some can be coming because of personal experiences you've had. Some of those beliefs you have because you've been taught by your pastor or your imam, okay, and they become part of the belief that you have. So those that are not directly from your sense perception or experiences are known as intuitive or derived judgments. That means you get those beliefs from other existing body of knowledge, not out of direct experience.
Yeah.
Please,
Okay,
if you
okay.
just join, mute your mic. I'm getting some feedback, please. Types of beliefs. There are two types of beliefs. We have what is known as core beliefs, and we have dispositional beliefs. So core beliefs, these beliefs are more or less permanent and difficult to change. All right. But the dispositional beliefs are the beliefs that are dependent and changeable. So for almost all of us, we have what is known as the core belief. It's almost permanent, difficult to change. And we have those beliefs that we can somewhat let go with exposure to some different knowledge or evidence. Okay. And core belief example normally would be religious beliefs. All right. When it comes to religion and sometimes politics, people don't use their head. Okay. So you want to be careful in the way you want to deal with these subjects. Most times it's not the fault of anybody. You grew up either in a Muslim family, you have been taught all of those things all of your life, and somebody wants to use 10 minutes to change that. Okay. Or you grew up from a Christian home and somebody wants to use 30 minutes to change the faith that they have taught you and you have experienced and all that, all this one. So when it comes to religious beliefs, they are tend to be very permanent and they are very difficult to change. And sometimes we need to understand these things, as I've said, because they have relationship with our orientation and where we came back from. I always tell my class that if you were born in Saudi Arabia, for example, there is 99% chance that you will have been a Muslim by now. Okay. In the same way, if you were born into an Hindu family, there is the highest chance that you will have been practicing that particular religion. All right. So we have to know this type of belief. It's known as core belief, and it's normally very, very difficult to change. Okay. Dispositional beliefs, however, are dependent and quite changeable. So a belief represents the mental state, the facts that you accept, the principles that you hold dear, and therefore they become the way you think and reason about life as far as those issues are concerned. So we have the 4 contemporary approaches to beliefs by Lynn Ruder or Rada. So he says that in thinking about belief, our common sense understanding of belief is correct. So what it means is that sometimes called mental sentence theory, in this conception, beliefs exist as coherent entities, and the way we talk about them in everyday life is a valid basis for scientific endeavor. So our thinking about some facts, about some things could be right, okay? Let's go back to our belief in the existence of God, for example. So our belief and our understanding of the fact that God exists as a belief could be right, and that could help us in the various ways by which we go about our things in life. The other one is that the second point is that common sense understanding of belief may not be entirely correct, but it is close enough to make some useful predictions. So it could be that our belief that God exists might not be entirely right. Okay. Some don't even want to refer to as a God. They want to call it nature. They want to call it a force. So it may not be entirely correct that there may be a human being or something that exists called God, but that belief is close enough to help us make some useful predictions. So there are many things in this life that science or logic is difficult for us to be able to explain. So most of the time we have to leave it to the supernatural. All right. So it may not scientifically be, it might be scientifically be difficult to prove, but because we believe in some supernatural abilities, it helps us to be able to make useful discussions and predictions about certain things in life. All right. Otherwise, if we want to leave it to only logic, then it becomes very, very difficult for us to be able to understand how events unfold in life. So what that point is trying to say is that even if it is not entirely true, it helps in helping addressing some issues and understanding some phenomenon in life. So I'm just using this as examples for us to understand this point. The next is that our common sense understanding of belief is entirely wrong and will be completely superseded by a radically different theory. So here what we're saying is that probably our existence about the existence of God is totally false or wrong. And later on, it could be proven that really there is no creator of this world, the Big Bang or whatever theory, and that it was due to something, some force somewhere that brought the world into existence. All right. In medicine, Medicine has experienced that, where in time past, for example, they could believe that the cause of a particular sickness is or death is due to something. Then later on, there will be a real scientific investigation to realize that that belief did not exist at all or was false. Okay. I can get some feedback, please. If you just joined, can you mute your mic? Okay. So in medicine, those things have happened where deaths have been attributed to a certain cause, but later on, further research revealed that what they thought was the case wasn't the case at all. All right. And that brings us to the missionaries that initially came to Africa and they were dying and all that. Okay. Most times, or in those early days, it was attributed to superstitious things until research actually revealed that they were dying as a result of malaria and so on and so forth. So our common sense belief could be entirely wrong. And later there could be a theory that will make all those beliefs to not to be true. Then the last approach to belief is that common sense understanding of belief is entirely wrong. However, treating people, animals, and even computers as if they had beliefs is often a useful strategy. So even when our belief in, say, the existence of God is not true, but that belief helps us in treating our environment well. It helps us in relating with people well, maybe as a result of fear or whatever, but beliefs can help us to relate and treat people, animals, and computers better than if we choose not to have beliefs at all. All right. So these are the 4 approaches by which we can analyze the issue about belief. It could be, we said it could be correct. Whatever we believe could be correct, or our common sense understanding of belief may not be entirely correct, but it's still useful, or it is entirely wrong because it will be taken over by a different theory altogether, or entirely wrong, but it is still useful to treat people, animals, and even non-living things as though they had beliefs, because that will help us in treating our environment better. Okay. Then formation of beliefs. Where do they come from? How do we get our beliefs? So beliefs come out of the confidence in the spoken words of people we respect. This type of belief is known as commentary belief. So that is very, very important. Normally, our beliefs come from the words that we hear from people that we respect. All right. So much earlier when I was talking about a particular point, I think institutions, I caution you guys to be careful about the churches you attend to, the people that you attend to. Once people are in a position of power or authority, most of the time the subjects tend to believe whatever they say. Okay. So if you have the wrong teaching and comment from the wrong person in authority, it tends to shape the belief that you have. And that is what is known as commentary belief. Okay, so it's coming from spoken words. So you need to be careful the words that you're listening to, because it can shape your belief. We have a belief from childhood about the existence of ghosts or supernatural phenomena. They may be real or not. This type of belief is called existential belief. So there are beliefs that we have just because we've come to this world, just because we exist. All right, we spoke about them much earlier. By reason of where you were born, you tend to have some beliefs, and we've explained much earlier, some may not make sense, whatever, but as a child, you just have to believe them because they will add some fear to it and so on and so forth. So that is also another source of belief, and it's known as existential belief. Belief that comes as a result of your existence, you staying or living at a particular place. So the first one, which is very, very important, are beliefs that come from spoken words of people we respect. Very, very important. And there are also beliefs that come from as a result of where we come from or by the fact that we exist. There are so many things that we've heard when we're a child and they have become part of our belief. Okay. So under that, we have these other ways by which you can get beliefs. So beliefs can be adopted from our role models, just as the commentary belief was trying to say. Okay, what your role models say and believe can actually be transferred to you. In our formative years, somebody else's belief may be internalized, existential belief. Your father says there is a ghost, your mother says there is a ghost, so you have to accept that, whether you believe it, you've seen a ghost before or not. Okay. By the way, has anybody seen a ghost or a dwarf before? In this class, anybody with direct judgment or experience with a ghost or a dwarf? Hello?
Hi.
Are you on
sir.
it at all?
Not seen it before.
Anybody?
Bro,
Yes.
I've seen some before. I don't know whether it was a ghost though.
Who is speaking?
It's ever.
Oh, sorry, Evelyn, I'm mute again. I just muted you because I was getting some feedback. I'm mute again.
Yeah, bro.
You said
back.
you've seen some before?
I just don't know whether it was a ghost though. And
But where?
I don't know why
Where?
it seems in my village. Oh,
And what happened? We want the story. How did it happen? What makes you
oh
think
no.
it might be a ghost or a
Well,
dwarf?
it was after 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
We were escorting our grandfather to ease himself from a private.
Yeah.
So when we were returning, I vividly saw something standing about less than 30 meters away in front of us, quite tall and in black. I was scared though. So, but I didn't utter a word. I was with my little sister and our granddad.
Are you sure it was not
Oh.
this thing used to scare birds? How do you call it? You
Oh
know,
no, that thing looks like a human.
Scarecrow. We call it scarecrow.
So prof, I don't know why I can't take this thing off my mind.
Yeah.
And you know that stretch where we went, the stretch, we were told that those days when people died through accidents and stuff like that, you know, they don't bury them in the cemetery. They bury them somewhere. I don't know whether that thing is familiar to other tribes, but in our land, they bury people those days. These days, I don't know. They bury them somewhere, not in the main cemetery. So the stretch we were using to the private, that's the road that they claim that those people used to be buried.
Okay.
And I don't know. I saw
and you knew
you
fed it before the day your people went out.
Pardon me, sir?
You knew about the fact that they used to bury those people there before you went out with your granddad.
Yes, I was a child. I hear my parents say it in their conversations. But we don't go in the night. But that particular day, we had to escort our granddad because we felt it was late. So we were scared of him rather. So we escorted him
and you saw it. Hey,
I saw
Evelyn.
it.
Any other person? Any other person? Yes. Maribor.
Yes, sir. Please, in my case, it was like from 8 to 9 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Pando Toko, a village under Pando. And we walk every morning from Toko to Pando Township to school. So this day, I was actually late and I was alone walking. Mostly we walk in group, but that day I was walking alone. So between Toko and Pando, there is you see, it's a mountainous area. We climb some mountains before finally you descend into Pando Township. And this mountainous area is also a forest as well. So this fateful day in these mountains, whilst walking through the path, I met this old woman, very old woman. I just walk quietly, bypass there, So after bypassing her, I tend to look back to her again. Then she gave me a signal that I should continue walking. So later, when I left this mountainous area, the footpath, then I started sweating. Then I realized, hey, what I saw was this a real human being. No houses was around there, and and such a woman who could not walk from the Pando township to that place at that particular time. So later, I was convinced I met a ghost. And that was my experience.
Prof, I know that area, but I know the Pando Toko stretch he's talking about. It's a whole stretch. And I believe it really goes.
Cars do have accidents a lot on that particular mountain. Several cars were involved in accidents. People died.
So it's the ghost that has been causing the accident, isn't it?
Oh, maybe people that have died have become ghosts living there.
Okay, what about the dwarf? Dwarfs, anybody who has seen dwarf before? But the ghost, to be able to say something is a ghost, you should have known the person in real life, isn't it? Then probably when you see the person again, you can tell that this is the same person. Is that not the definition we've made to understand as far as a ghost is concerned?
Oh, in our place, anyway, I have not heard of such definition before, sir.
I'm just... What? Continue. So yeah, so we have all. We can have our somebody else's belief becoming our belief. Sudden changes in life may also result in new beliefs. This third point is also very important. Okay, so we've had Africans especially, you know, the way we are religious here, we pray for everything and all that. Then all of a sudden, when they end up in Europe or developed countries where light is flowing, like the electricity, whatever, water is flowing, there is light, the train system is working, and virtually they now see that most of the things that they were praying for in Africa are things, human factors. They are things that if you're in a good system, you can have without prayer. Okay, and some actually become atheists because of that. They feel that they have been deceived in Africa, because if you want food, you have to be praying. If you want water raining, you have to pray. Then you find yourself in a place where the system works very well. Trini Jonas will say 24/7. All right. So I'm just using that as an example. It can make some people move from people of faith to just atheists or people that don't even believe that God exists. Then we have those also that have had normal, rosy life, and they think things are just normal. There is no God anywhere. There is no belief anywhere. And all of a sudden, boom, they get into some serious sicknesses to the point that they're about to die. Then probably in a trance, they see an angel, they hear a voice, or somebody touches them, then they come back home. Then all of a sudden now they become people of faith. All right. So sudden changes in life can result in new beliefs, either believe in a new thing or to discard an existing belief. That can be another way by which our beliefs are formed. Okay. Some beliefs are formed on the basis of knowledge or research. That is also very important. If you remember our earlier lecture on moral development. So as you develop, it will get to a stage where those existential beliefs especially, some of them will go, and commentary beliefs as well, because you've now developed in knowledge through your own research. You can now believe some things and let some things go. All right. And whenever I get here, I remember Otabel's teachings. There was one sermon that he was talking about the mortuary attendants. Okay, why if you were to go to a mortuary attendant and talk about a ghost, he will laugh at you or he wouldn't believe you. And he was explaining the fact that it was basically based on knowledge. Why? Because these people have stayed with dead people for years, all right? Some of them eat there, they bath there, and they have never seen any dead person rise up to fight them or beat them or slap them. And so based on the knowledge they have, the kind of fear that we ordinary people have, so that if we see something or somebody, we tend to think it's a ghost. That kind of belief will not exist when you're dealing with mortuary attendants, for example. Okay. So it's an example where knowledge about something can influence your level of belief. All right. And so once you have light, when the place is dark, you entertain all manner of fear, all manner of thoughts, all manner of beliefs. But once you have light and everything is clear, fear and doubt and those things move away. So it's an example of having knowledge on a subject matter, and that tends to inform the kind of belief that you have. Okay. Then we move to values. So values are individualized beliefs that influences how people behave. So values believe themselves are facts or principles that we consider to be very important and want to live by. So values are those principles and whatever that we attach a lot of importance to. If you want, we attach value to. We consider them to be very, very critical, so we put some weight on them. When we personalize those values or those beliefs, they become what is known as our values. So values are individualized beliefs that influence how people behave. Okay. A value is anything which has utility or worth. But in our context, the worth here is not really in terms of material or monetary gain. Okay, most of the time when we talk about value, we're thinking in terms of money. All right. But here we're talking about some utility, some worth that is not really materialistic. So moral values are assigned to things like fairness. Okay, so fairness can be considered as a value. Justice can be considered as a value. You cherish it, you value justice so much, such that anytime there is injustice, you feel or experience some sense of pain in your heart. Honesty, integrity, okay, these are all examples of values. So individual values are commitments to which a particular person subscribes. So for some people, it's about fairness. For some people, it's about integrity. There are several of them, all right? But they are commitments that we think are very, very important, and therefore we subscribe to those commitments. We have examples of, I said there are many, individual values. So it could be adherence to justice, it could be honesty, it could be hard work, it could be sincerity, it could be sacrifice, it could be kindness, it could be compassion. All these are examples of individual values, okay? And even though there is no monetary value or materialistic value attached to them, some of these values are things that can actually lead to material rewards and whatever, okay? Because we've heard about cases where if you are honest, for example, as an employee, your employer can dash you a car or can give you something, okay? We've heard about cases where people that have served well, maybe they are just, how do you call it, house helps, okay, or caregivers. Say that when a person was about to die, whether an old man or woman, in their world, they left a lot of wealth for that particular person because of these values that that person had. So they may not be materialistic. Now, another example could be sincerity in business or honesty in business. Your suppliers, your business partners will trust you. And so even when you don't have money, they'll be willing to transact with you. All right. So there are things on their own, they are not materialistic, but if we keep at them, they can give us some material rewards. Another example could be hard work, for example. Okay. But we are not really talking about them in the context of the reward that will bring to us. but we're talking about the fact that on their own, there are things that people put a lot of weight on and value on, and that's why they are known as values. Okay. What are the significance of values? So the value system helps a person in making clear decisions. All right. So if you have certain values, for example, if you have value for justice, you consider justice to be a value, you will not struggle to make a decision where it is required that you have to take a just decision. Okay. If you have value for, say, honesty, you won't struggle to take decision when you are torn between being honest or dishonest, because you consider honesty to be one of your values. All right. So it helps in decision making. The value system helps build the perception of an individual. So you see, the way you perceive others to be either unethical or immoral normally is based on your value system. Okay. So somebody who values, say, materialism or materialistic things will see somebody who steals, especially in the company setting, who can do deals and make money, to be a very intelligent person. All right. Whilst you who sees honesty, integrity, sincerity to be a value, to see those guys to be a very corrupt or bad person. Okay. So your perception in life, and sometimes you just follow social media or all of these social platforms. No matter how bad the issue is, if you read the comment section, you see people that will come and justify that kind of bad behavior. All right? Because the value systems vary, and your perception about things in life largely is influenced by the values that you have. Okay. A clear value premise helps a person arrive at flawless logical deductions and moral reasoning. So it's similar to the decisions. Whether you come to a conclusion whether something is morally right or ethical or not, all of that will be based on the values that you have in life. It gives clarity of understanding to a person confronted with a particular situation, right? So if you are more of the justice person, you will be interpreting the situation from the perspective of whether that thing is just or not. Okay, if you have more of the compassion person, you'll be interpreting the thing from the perspective of compassion. All right, so that is that. Types of values, so there could be several of them, but in this context, we're looking at two types. It's known as instrumental values. Instrumental values. So the values which concerns the way we approach the end state. So instrumental values are not the end that we want to achieve, but they are the means for us to achieve the end. Okay, the end state that we want to achieve. Instrumental values are the values that we must first have in order to meet what is known as the terminal values. All right. So instrumental values leads to what is known as values. So for example, some of the examples under instrumental values are hard work and achievement. So you can have the value of hard work and the desire or the sense to achieve. That is a value. But that by itself is not an end. The fact that you are hardworking, what does it bring? So what hard work actually brings, or what you seek to achieve from hard work, is what is known as the terminal value. Okay. But you need to work hard in order to be able to achieve that particular value. For example, if you want to achieve, say, financial independence or financial success, all right, that can be referred to as a terminal value. But how do we do that? One of the ways to do that is through hard work. All right. And to have this sense of ambition or achievement. And therefore, they are known as instrumental values. I hope that is clear. Then you can have education and intellectual pursuits as a value. But that also, based on my explanation, is an instrumental value, because nobody just go to school for the going sake. All right. Maybe you want a good job And even a good job may be because you want to be paid well. Getting paid well may be because you want to be financially independent. Okay? So all these examples here are not end by themselves, but they are the means for us to be able to achieve the end state that we desire. And so they are known as instrumental values. Okay. Then we have the terminal values. They are those end state goals that we praise, such as comfortable life, a sense of accomplishment, equality among all people. So these are actually the end that we want to achieve. Okay, we want to be comfortable in life. So if you have attached importance to happiness and satisfaction in life, that is a terminal value. Okay, that is the end, what you want to achieve. So for example, all the hard working that you'll be doing, the sacrifice that you'll be doing, all of that is meant for you to achieve happiness and satisfaction in life. Okay, peace and harmony in the world is an example of terminal values. Okay, all the things that we will do related to conflict management and all that is tailored towards achieving peace and harmony. All right. Knowledge and wisdom, pride in accomplishment, security, freedom from threats are all examples of terminal values that we desire for ourselves. So we have to know these two types. We have the instrumental values, which are not the end by themselves. And we have the terminal values, which are the end state that we desire to achieve in life. Okay. Beyond this, we could have several types of values. If we want to explain all of them, we won't leave here. So get the text and read them, all right? Egocentric values. Some people value their interests. If you remember much earlier, we spoke about that, the self-interest. So they want to protect it at all costs. So there are several categories of values. Tribalistic values, for example, it's not so much about tribe. You know, when we use the word tribe in Ghana or Africa, the context is like the same tribe. But tribe actually means people of your kind, okay? So they may not be of the same tribe as we know it as tribe, but people that are like you, all right? So you want to protect, let's just say your friends, all right? So your friends, for example, you could call them your tribe, people that are there for you, and so on and so forth. So for some people, they hold those friendships and those groupings very dear and want to protect it as much as they can, all right? Then we can have these other categories of values: religious values, economic values, social values, aesthetic values. You remember aesthetics? So some people like beauty so much. They attach so much importance to beautiful stuff. So in their decision making, that becomes very, very important when they are making decisions. We have political values. We have logical values. Okay. Characteristics of values. So point one says values are chosen freely without any coercion or compulsion. So we choose what we want to be known for in terms of the values we want to have. Okay, so you can choose honesty, you can choose justice, you can choose hard work. It's up to us. That doesn't mean you cannot have all of them. But basically, we can also decide to drop one because probably it's not helping us to achieve what we want. Okay, you may find yourself in an environment where the dishonest people are making a lot of money. So if you feel you have been left behind, it'll be up to you to let go of your honesty as a value. So we have a choice when it comes to picking our values. Okay, so a value is chosen from a number of options. We've just seen that. The choice of value is made after taking into account different consequences of this choice. Okay, so whether we want to stay with our honesty and grow poor, or want to become dishonest in order to amass wealth in the short term, that could be a decision that we make. Others will look at it that if I become honest and even get the money, I may end up in prison. And so I don't want to be dishonest, and so on and so forth. So these are the options that are available, and people will look at consequences in making the decision. The value chosen is practiced and then sustained and applied at different stages of life. So if we opt to go with justice, it begins with some struggle, but as you practice it, it becomes part of you. All right? It becomes part of you. So when somebody wants to perpetrate injustice, once they see you or when they know that the case will get to you, they will stop, or they will not like the case to get to you, because they know that when they come to you, you will actually be very just in making judgments about that particular event. Okay, it's the same thing as honesty. There are some of us that if they were to say that something is missing at the workplace, some people can vouch with their life that they know you are not the one. All right? Because they know you may be something else. But when it comes to stealing, they can say that, no, I can bet with my life that that person can only steal. All right? So that leads us to points. And it's because they have seen you over the period, being honest and not stealing. That then becomes the basis for that particular decision. Okay, so point 5 comes from that values make a man or a woman. So you need to be known for something. You need to stand for something. All of them, there are downsides to all these things that I'm talking about. Okay, if you, as much as honesty is important, there is a cost associated with that. All right, especially so when you're dealing with your bosses or superiors that have the decision to, that have the power to make decisions on your promotion, your salary, and stuff like that. If they do something wrong and you were to testify against them, don't assume you'll go scot-free. They'll find a way to get back at you. So for all the value system, I just give an example. If you choose to be honest and you will not manipulate things to make money, you'll be poor. All right? So there's a price to any value that you pick, but you also, to be a man or a woman, you must be known for certain values that you have. So values make a man or a woman, okay? You don't have to walk valueless. You need to have values. So values become a part of yourself and being. So when they see you, something should jump at them. Oh, this is an honest person coming. This is a just person coming. This is a hardworking person. This is what again? A compassionate person. There are so many of them. All right. The issue is that there should be one that dominates among the lot. You could have a bit and pieces of all of this, but you should be known for something. Say that if they want a compassionate person, your name comes up. If they want a hardworking person, your name comes up. Okay, that is what is meant by values make a man or values make a woman. Okay, source of values and attitudes. You remember our sources of ethics? Almost the same thing, okay? Because this topic is the foundation of ethical behavior. So all these things are within the context of ethics. So you see that where we're getting our ethical behavior from are also the place where we get our values and attitudes. So from family, from peer groups, role models, and institutions. Institutions here are the institutions that we spoke about: social, educational, religious, and so on and so forth. All of them define our values and our attitudes. So we want to look at the conflict of values. So value conflicts arise because we all adhere to different moral principles and standards of behavior. Every profession must balance their personal and professional values. These values occasionally contradict. However, when these two values conflict, professionals and morally upright individuals favor the professional value above the personal value or interest. Okay, so the values or these values that we've spoken about sometimes co-conflict. Much earlier, we saw religious values, if you remember the categories. Okay, we had personal values, we have religious values, we had several types of values. So I normally use the example of, say, Jehovah's Witness. All right, they don't believe in blood transfusion. They don't accept that. So I normally use an example of a doctor or who is also a member of Jehovah's Witness, all right, who doesn't believe that it is right to give blood or donate blood or transfuse blood to another person. If you were to have a case where the patients needed blood, were you going to say that you will not do it because your faith doesn't accept that? All right. So your personal belief in this particular context is conflicting with your professional values or beliefs. Your professional values is to do everything that you can for the care and survival of your patients. But your religious value is telling you otherwise in that particular context. So the answer is there. Whenever there is a conflict between your personal values and your professional values, it is always important that you go by your professional values and not your personal values. Okay? If you so much hold dear to your personal values or religious values, then you need to find a profession that will help you to keep up with that particular faith. But you cannot agree to work in a particular profession and still want to uphold the kind of values that you have. Is that point clear? Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah. It's very, very important. Okay, so if you find yourself conflicted in terms of whether you should go by your personal values or the professional standards, you always have to choose the professional values or standards instead of your personal values. All right. And here we are not talking about corrupt practices. I'm not saying that, for example, if you go to the police, whatever, and everything that they do is bribe, you should let go of your standard and be taking bribes. No. All right. I've given an example of that. Okay, so yes, if you are a lecturer and you know that weekend, whatever, distance education, the lectures takes place on Saturdays and Sundays, and yet you don't want to work on Saturday or Sunday, you have no business joining that particular program. The same applies to you guys, the students. I think I mentioned it earlier. So professionally, you need to go by professional values instead of your personal values. Okay. Let's move to attitude. So we've looked at beliefs, we've looked at values, we're looking at attitudes. So your value system, and don't forget from the very beginning, we said they are all connected, all right? The information that you have will determine your beliefs will determine your values, and your beliefs and values will determine your attitude. So your value system, which you have ingrained, is the foundation of your attitude toward life. Okay, so how you will finally behave or react to things are based on the value systems that you have. And your value systems, as we've seen much earlier, is also influenced by the beliefs that you have. Okay. A person's feelings, beliefs, and preconceived notions are related to their attitudes. A learned propensity of behavior toward a person, group, object, or environment is known as attitude. So what's naturally or impulsively, how do I even put it? You don't think unconsciously, you don't think about it. The way you react to a particular situation, a person, some of the decisions you don't even think. It just comes to you. This is not right. This is right. This is whatever. That is an aspect of the attitude. Okay, so is the dimension, there is a dimension of an attitude that people then get to see. We'll look at the components of attitude. Okay, part of behavior is within attitude. So yes, that is what people get to see. But before you took that decision for people to see or to see your attitude, something might have gone on in your mind. And the things that will have gone on are the beliefs that you hold. All right, the beliefs that you have. And the beliefs that you have also influence the values that you had that made you to actually react or behave the way that you did. Okay, so a learned propensity, that is not a time that you have to think. It is already in your mind. Your beliefs, your values will determine how you behave towards a person, a group, an object, an environment, an event, and that is what is known as your attitude, okay? So differences between attitudes and values. Don't forget we said beliefs leads to values, then values and beliefs together will form your attitude. So what are the differences? So with attitude, they represent predisposition. What that means is that you are almost wired to react that way. As I indicated much earlier, your attitude will show. Sometimes you don't even like it, but it will show. I don't know whether you've realized it, all right? You want to comport yourself, but once something happens, it triggers that aspect of you, okay? That is what is meant by attitude. It represents a predisposition. That is how you react. Then values, they relate to judgments. Okay, so when you're dealing with values, it is at that point where you want to make a decision whether hard work is something that I want to consider to be important, whether honesty is something that I see to be important, whether care and compassion. So it relates to judgment as what you would see to be very, very important and therefore align with that particular type of value. Okay, so values relates to judgment. Attitudes are mostly personal. Once you develop yourself based on the values that you have and the beliefs that you have, you personalize it, all right? So the way you react to a particular situation is mostly different from the way others may react. It's because you've now formed an attitude based on your personal beliefs and the values that you have. But with values, they are gathered from social and cultural parameters, okay? Your social environment, where you grew up from, and so on and so forth, will help you to know whether some particular value is right or wrong, okay? So, for example, if you grew up from a family where your parents themselves will tell you to go and steal, right, from a market because they want something to eat at home, that will inform your upbringing as to whether you consider honesty to be a value or not. And what I'm saying are things that really happen. Okay, we have parents that will actually encourage their children to go and steal. Okay, because probably they find it difficult to find food or something, and so on and so forth. So your values, something being right or wrong in terms of being honest or dishonest, being hardworking, is mostly influenced by social and cultural parameters. The cultural one, we spoke about polygamy, we spoke about incest and stuff like that. Okay. So they amalgamate several beliefs, attitudes. So you bring a whole lot of beliefs, a whole lot of values to form your attitude. And once that happens, it becomes your predisposition, okay? But values, they originate from a single belief. One single belief will help you to know whether something is something that you consider to be important or not. I just give you the example of having parents that will send you to go and steal, and how that can cause you to decide whether to be honest or dishonest later in life. So similarities between attitudes and values. So they are quite similar. And so one line will do, all right? So they interact with each other. Both values and attitude interact. As we said, it's your values together with your attitude that will determine your beliefs together with your values that will determine your attitude. So they mix and interact with each other. They affect the behavior of people. Both values and attitudes affect the behavior of people. They are learned outcomes. So we learned the origin, society, where you grew up from, and so on and so forth. They are acquired from family, peers, role models, and institutions, and they are difficult to change. Very, very important. So it is important that at the formative age, those of you with little bit of educational background, you help your children to develop the right type of values and attitude. Because if you grow, sometimes you don't even like the way you are, but it's almost like that is whom you have become. Okay, it's difficult to change once they are made up. let's look at the components of attitudes. All right. So when I was explaining some point, I said there are components, and the aspect that we see is what is known as behavior. But before that happens, something will have gone inside of us. And I was talking about our beliefs, our values, okay, will have informed what people finally see. So those are the components of attitudes. So with attitude, we have the cognitive or information aspect of it. And that is where that place is made up of our beliefs, our values, our concepts, and other knowledge about a person or an object. Okay, so that is the first aspect. If we say this person's attitude has this type of attitude, there is the aspect of it that is based on the beliefs, the values, the concept, the knowledge that person have. That is why the person is finally behaving the way they are. Okay, so there is cognitive or information aspect of attitude. Then we have the affective or emotional aspect of attitude. So a person's feelings or affects, whether positive, neutral, or adverse about an object. You know, normally the affective or emotional will be coming from the cognitive or information. Okay, so let me give you this example. If somebody was your very close friend, right? You did everything together and all that. Then later you were to get somebody, maybe an elderly person, called you someday aside and was to caution you about this person. Why? Because the person has actually said A, B, C, D things about you, very nasty things about you in your absence. And this elderly person was to tell you, be careful about this friend. Okay. What happens is at the cognitive or information level. All right. When you meet that friend, how are you likely to react or behave towards the person? What would be your disposition towards that person if you were to meet the person the next time? Yes, this time when I want some participation, how will you feel? The person that you consider to be your best friend went somewhere talking very bad about you, and somebody came to inform you about that. Next time your friend comes laughing and want to joke or play with you, what will be your behavior or your kind of reaction that you have? Yes, Regina.
To me, at first, I'll be a little bit cold towards the person, just to calm my nerves, not to overreact.
Okay, but what?
Then,
but before the calmness, like what kind of feeling will you have? Will there be feelings at all? What type of feeling? What type of feeling will you have? I'm trying
disappointment.
to good. So I want us to put words to that. So you feel disappointed. Any other?
Yes.
For feeling
betrayed and betrayed.
Betrayed.
Yes.
Is it only Regina who have read English in this group? I want the others to contribute. So you feel disappointed, you feel betrayed, any other? Oh, no one else. Evelyn.
You feel insecure.
Hello?
You feel insecure, yes, any other?
You withdraw yourself.
Right, the withdrawal really will be like the behavior, but I want the feelings. Ike.
Rage.
Ike, I can't hear you.
Rage. You feel rage.
I can't hear you very well.
Rage.
Rage, exactly. So you feel some anger, all right? The only thing is that you normally, as Regina was trying to say, you want to control all of these things. You want to control the disappointment, the anger or rage, the insecurity that you now have towards that relationship. Okay? So then the behavior. What type of behavior are you likely to put up? We've heard withdrawal. For some people, they'll withdraw. Okay? When you come talking, they will just be nodding or responding, but they will not be active in like talk so much as they used to. Any other? What type of behavior would you put up or people put up under that circumstance? Yes, please, it's an open discussion. Ike, do you still want to talk? Or this?
Yeah, you confront the person.
You do what?
Confront the person.
Good. Some people confront the person, and confrontation could actually mean they could fight with the person. Any other? Yes, fighting means you could beat or slap the person. If we take the withdrawal and confrontation, so you see the progress. Okay. When we say attitude, these are the things that come up. Please mute your mic. I can get some feedback. So these are the three things that forms the attitudes. What we normally see is the last aspect, which is the behavioral aspect, where the person withdraws or where the person confronts you or where the person slaps you. But before then, there should have been some cognitive or some information provided to the person. Then the person's mind, that's why it's called cognitive. The person's mind will begin to process that. So yes, so my close friend was able to say that and that about me, and so on and so forth. So once you start processing the information and whatever knowledge or information they have given to you, it leads to some form of affective or emotional feelings. Okay, so that is where you get disappointed, you get angry, and so on and so forth. Once you have this type of feeling, it then results into behavior. And the behavior could be withdrawal, the behavior could be confrontation. Okay, but all of these things normally happen so fast that sometimes we don't get to separate them as we've done. Okay, but for every attitude, there will have been some information that you have or some knowledge that you have. Sometimes it's even far away. Some of the knowledge may not be authentic, right? Like some of the prejudice that we hold against tribes, against people. Okay, you hear somebody is an ewe, what comes to mind is juju. Okay, so you see Regina and you want to run away. All right. So, or you have an ewe and you are always careful about the person. Okay, are you following? So that behavior towards the person. Please mute your mic. Mute your mic. Somebody is talking. Yeah. Okay. That behavior that you have towards the person, most of the time, didn't just start there. It's based on some knowledge or information that you've received, sometimes from childhood, so on and so forth. And that then influence the type of feelings that you have, and that then influence the type of behavior you show towards the person. I hope we are clear with that. So these are the components of attitudes. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. Let's look at characteristics of attitude. So just read through them. All people, irrespective of their status or intelligence, hold attitudes, right? No matter who you are, you have attitude. The only thing is that it could be either be bad or good attitude, but all people have attitudes. Attitude causes us to behave in a particular way towards an object and person or person. We've just seen that. The only thing is that before the behavior, we said two things have happened. There is the cognitive aspect, there is affective aspect that will happen. But those ones are not normally seen. Okay. It indicates the total of a person's inclinations and feelings. So once you behave in a certain way, and I'm a smart person, I should be able to deduce the type of feelings that you had. And I should also be able to deduce the kind of information you should have had for you to behave that way. So it helps us to know the total inclination and feelings about the person. It refers to one's readiness for doing work as well. So we have the attitude towards work, all right? So the kind of readiness that you have. And all of this, how you approach work, how you approach marriage, anything about life, is normally based on information and feelings that you have towards that particular thing, okay? So we have attitude towards life and all manner of things in life. It causes us to behave in a particular way towards an object or person. We've said it already. It may be positive or negative and may be affected by age, position, and education. Don't forget, we said information is at the core of our attitude. And these things that we've listed tends to give us extra information. Okay, so your knowledge about something can change as you grow, or as you get some new positions, you get to know more, and that can influence your knowledge and therefore your attitude, right? The same applies to education. Right, let's look at the last aspect. We have what is also known as virtue. Virtue is like, it's almost like values, right? By something that you don't do once and for all, virtue becomes like something that you become known for. Like value determines a man kind of thing. So if you get to that point of moral excellence, then you can be described as a virtuous person. Okay? So when you live by these values, good values, and that becomes a lifestyle, then that becomes what is known as virtue. But it's very related to values. All right? They are almost synonymous. Okay, so all the things that we call value or values can also be virtues. So virtue is a moral excellence. Virtue is a behavior that shows high moral standards, doing what is right and avoiding what is wrong. Virtue is the habit of deliberate choice of right actions. All right. So if you have virtues, you always seek to pursue some of these major virtues that we have here: honesty, sincerity, truth, courage, temperance. Okay, who can help me? How is courage a virtue or a value? You see, the others are very clear. Even temperance is not too clear. Okay, integrity, compassion, kindness, we know. If I tell you kindness, yes, you know that it's a good thing to be kind. But how is virtue, courage, a virtue or a value? Who can help me with that? How come we should see courage as a virtue? Hey, nobody is minding me. Let me see. I'll start calling names. Okay, a hand is up. Yes, Esther.
You'll be able to stand up. You have the courage to be able to stand up for the truth, no matter what.
Beautiful.
So it's a value.
So you see that it's actually the basis for most of the things that we have here. Okay? Truth. If you are not courageous, you cannot stand for it. I don't know where you work, but most organizations, the people that will be pushing you to do the wrong things and tell lies are people of power and people of authority. So it will take a lot of courage to be able to say no to people of such caliber. All right? So sincerity, all the things that are up there, they don't just happen if you don't have courage. Okay, so it is really the foundation to be honest, it's the foundation to be sincere, it's the foundation to be truthful. Okay, so that is why it is an important virtue that we must all have. Okay, once you are timid and fearful, people can push you around to do all manner of things that they feel they can profit from. Okay, so it's an important virtue that we must all seek to have. Okay. So we have several classifications of virtues. We have some general classifications with regards to self, others, and what we can consider to be the ideals. Okay, so we can have virtue to ourselves regarding truth, regarding what we can consider to our sense of beauty, our temperance, and courage. When it comes to others, the values that we should be thinking more of is with regards to justice. When you're dealing with others, you need to be just. You need benevolence, that is care and compassion when you are dealing with others. And you need patriotism, especially as a citizen of any country or state. Okay, so that is with others. And the ideals across board, is that you need love. Regarding love, you need that truth, passion for the Almighty if you're a person of faith. So these are ideals that cuts across, okay? Then we have other scholars or philosophers that have come with yes. For James Sets, virtues means you have temperance. Temperance means patience or endurance, okay? You have culture. You have culture basically means good way of life, right? It's a way of living, but this culture is the right one. Like good behavior is almost like a way of life for you, right? Like the explanation of virtue itself. Justice, benevolence, that is what he sees to be his classification. For Plato, cardinal virtue, he sees wisdom, he sees courage, he sees temperance. Aristotle sees intellectual virtue, he sees moral virtue, and agrees with Plato's cardinal virtues, but interpreted it in a narrower sense. All right. So that is that. So for this lecture, we've spent time on three things. We've looked at beliefs, we've looked at attitudes and values. But I said that virtues are almost like values, right? When they become a permanent part of you and you almost have a morally excellent life, you can be considered to be a virtuous person. Okay, so once we're discussing ethics, it is important that we understand all of these core concepts within the domain of ethics. And don't forget, our topic was about the foundation of ethics. And we said our beliefs, our attitudes, and our values form the foundation of ethics, our ethics or ethical behavior.